Australia started World War I without building a single aircraft and became one of only a handful of nations capable of designing jet fighters from scratch. Today, we trace the complete evolution of Australian military aviation across every single era. This is the story of Australian warbirds. Starting off with World War I, when Australia flew but didn't build. Bristol F.2B fighter. Now, this is the workhorse that carried Australian squadrons through Palestine. Armed with a forward Vickers gun and a flexible rear Lewis gun, this British two-seater was flown aggressively like a single-seat fighter. Australian aces made it legendary. Up next, Sopwith Camel. A twitchy, nose-heavy beast that killed as many students as enemies. Its rotary engine created violent torque that could snap you into a spin. In skilled Australian hands, it became a German nightmare. SE.5A. The steady alternative. Strong, fast, and blessed with excellent visibility, it was the dependable big brother to the temperamental Camel. Australian pilots appreciated machines that brought them home. Then Airco DH.9 bomber. A light bomber for reconnaissance and ground attack. It wasn't particularly fast or well-armed, but it taught Australian crews the fundamentals of bombing doctrine. Royal Aircraft Factory or .E.8. Nicknamed Harry Tate by Australian crews who flew this vulnerable reconnaissance two-seater. Slow, clumsy, and desperately needing fighter escort, it proved that observation aircraft were just flying targets. It survived only through luck and bravery. The war ended with Australia surrendering all aircraft back to Britain, returning home with experience but zero manufacturing capability. Let's move on to the interwar period, when Australia finally started forging its own wings. CAC-1 Wirraway. Now this is the aircraft that started it all. Based on the North American NA-16 trainer, the Wirraway was Australia's first domestically manufactured military aircraft, rolling off the line at Fisherman's Bend in 1939. The name means challenge in Aboriginal language, and it definitely challenged expectations. Powered by locally built Pratt & Whitney Wasp engines and armed with 3.303 machine guns, 755 Wirraways were built between 1939 and 1946. Originally designed as an advanced trainer, fate would soon force it into combat roles it was never meant to fight. The next one, Avro Anson. This British maritime patrol aircraft was license-built in Australia for coastal reconnaissance. Not sexy, not fast, but absolutely essential for watching Australia's vast ocean approaches. Supermarine Seagull V. An amphibious biplane that could operate from warships or coastal bases. The Royal Australian Navy used this British design for reconnaissance and spotting. It bridged sea and sky perfectly. Hawker Demon. A British two-seat biplane fighter that was already obsolete when it arrived. By the late 1930s, it represented Australia's desperate equipment shortage. It was a relic guarding a nation facing modern threats. Continuing with World War II, when Australia faced invasion and responded with radical innovation. CAC-12 Boomerang. Now this is the first combat aircraft ever designed and built entirely in Australia. When Japan smashed Darwin and invasion fears mounted, Australia couldn't afford to wait for foreign fighters. Designer Friedrich David performed a miracle, creating the Boomerang in mere weeks by mating Wirraway components with a completely new fuselage and the powerful 1,200 horsepower twin Wasp engine. The RAF ordered 105 aircraft in February 1942 and received the first one just 5 months later. Armed with two devastating 20mm Hispano cannons and 4.303 machine guns, it wasn't the fastest or most powerful fighter in the Pacific. But it was Australian, it was available, and it held the line. A total of 250 Boomerangs were built across variants C-12, C-13, C-14, and C-19. One unfortunate Boomerang was even shot down by a trigger-happy American P-38 pilot who mistook it for a Japanese Oscar. CAC-6 Wacket. A simple trainer named after CAC's manager Lawrence Wacket. Cheap to build, easy to maintain, and effective at cranking out pilots. Next, Supermarine Spitfire. The legendary British fighter finally arrived in Australian colors. Multiple variants served, including the tropicalized Mk-8 which excelled in the humid Pacific theater. Australian pilots loved every minute in the cockpit. Curtiss P-40 Kitty Hawk. The rugged American fighter that became the RAF's workhorse. It could absorb punishment that would down other fighters and keep flying. Tough, reliable, and available in numbers, the Kitty Hawk dominated RAF squadrons throughout the Pacific. Meet the Bristol Beaufighter. A twin-engine ship killer and ground attack monster. Bristling with 420mm cannons, 6 machine guns, rockets, and bombs, the Bow devastated Japanese shipping and coastal installations. It was a flying fortress of firepower. Lockheed Hudson. an American maritime patrol bomber that achieved fame as the first American aircraft to destroy a German U-boat. Australian Hudsons patrolled endless ocean expanses hunting submarines and protecting convoys. Following this, consolidated PBY Catalina, the iconic flying boat. Painfully slow but blessed with incredible range, Catalinas conducted reconnaissance missions lasting over 20 hours. They saved countless downed aircrew from the ocean. De Havilland Mosquito, the brilliant wooden wonder built mostly from plywood. Fast enough to outrun most fighters and versatile enough for bombing, reconnaissance, and night fighting, Australian squadrons operated multiple variants. Then Avro Lancaster, the legendary heavy bomber. Australian bomber squadrons flew Lancasters deep into Germany with RAF Bomber Command. It was the ultimate strategic hammer. Vultee Vengeance, an American dive bomber that delivered precision strikes. Highly accurate but vulnerable to fighters, it provided pinpoint ground attack capability in the Pacific. Next up, Douglas C-47 Dakota, the legendary transport that won the war without firing a shot. It hauled cargo, dropped paratroopers, evacuated wounded, and kept forces supplied across impossible Pacific distances. North American B-25 Mitchell, the deadly medium bomber. Australian crews flew Mitchells on low-level strikes against Japanese targets throughout the Southwest Pacific. Beechcraft Expediter, a light transport and communications aircraft. Not glamorous, but essential for moving personnel and small cargo. Continue watching to see Australia enter the jet age. Now let's look at the Cold War, when Australia mastered jet propulsion and built one of history's finest fighters. Gloucester Meteor, Australia's first jet. Squadron leader Derek Cumming made history on June 5, 1946, flying the first jet flight in Australia aboard an ex-RAF Meteor F.3. It opened the door to a new era. De Havilland Vampire, a British jet fighter and trainer with distinctive twin-boom design. Not the fastest jet, but affordable and effective for teaching Australian pilots jet combat tactics. CAC C-27 Avon Sabre. Now, this is Australia's masterpiece and arguably the finest F-86 variant ever built. CAC took the already excellent American F-86 Sabre and completely redesigned over 60% of the fuselage to accommodate the powerful Rolls-Royce Avon turbojet. The Avon produced more than double the thrust of the original J-47 engine. To handle this massive power increase, CAC enlarged the air intake diameter by 25% and repositioned the engine further aft. They replaced the 6.50 caliber machine guns with two devastating 30mm Aden cannons. The result was a fighter that could outclimb, out-accelerate, and outfight nearly anything in the sky. The Avon Sabre equipped 5 RAF squadrons and saw combat during the Malayan emergency in the late 1950s. It served with distinction defending Malaysia and Thailand throughout the 1960s, proving Australian engineering could match or exceed anything from superpowers. The next one, English Electric Canberra, a British jet bomber known for high-altitude performance. Fast, versatile, and equipped for both bombing and reconnaissance, the Canberra gave Australia strategic reach. GAF Jindavik, a revolutionary unmanned target drone designed and built entirely in Australia. The name means the hunted one in Aboriginal language. Operating since 1952 at Woomera, this radio-controlled jet could simulate enemy aircraft, fly evasive maneuvers, and even operate at treetop level. Britain, America, and Sweden bought them. Dassault Mirage 3, the French Delta Wing interceptor. Capable of Mach 2 and armed with missiles, the Mirage provided Australia with supersonic air defense throughout the 1960s and 70s. General Dynamics F-111, the Swing-Wing Pig. This long-range strategic bomber gave Australia unprecedented strike reach deep into Southeast Asia. Despite early teething problems, it became a feared precision strike platform. Lockheed P-3 Orion, the maritime patrol workhorse. For decades, Orions hunted submarines and monitored vast ocean areas around Australia. U-1 Iroquois Huey, the iconic helicopter that defined the Vietnam War. Australian Hueys flew transport, medevac, and gunship missions in Vietnam. Bell Kiowa, a light observation helicopter. Small, agile, and perfect for reconnaissance and liaison missions. And our last category is the modern era, where Australia operates some of the most advanced aircraft on Earth. McDonnell Douglas F divided by a -18A divided by B Hornet, the legendary twin-engine multi-role fighter. For over 3 decades, the Hornet was Australia's primary air superiority and strike fighter. Versatile, reliable, and deadly in both air-to-air and air-to-ground roles. Boeing F divided by a -18F Super Hornet, the bigger, badder evolution. With significantly extended range, heavier payload capacity, and advanced avionics, the Super Hornet provides Australia with true long-range strike capability. It remains a frontline fighter today. Boeing A-18G Growler, the electronic warfare variant that makes enemies blind and deaf. Equipped with sophisticated jamming pods and anti-radiation missiles, the Growler suppresses enemy air defenses before strikes. Only Australia, outside the United States, operates this fearsome aircraft. Lockheed Martin C-130J Super Hercules, the modern evolution of the legendary Hercules. Tactical transport, special operations insertion, humanitarian relief, and everything in between. Boeing C-17 Globemaster III, the strategic heavy lifter. This massive transport can haul tanks, helicopters, and disaster relief supplies anywhere in the world. It projects Australian power globally. Alenia C-27J Spartan, the tactical transport for rough airfields where C-130s are too big and helicopters too small. It fills the gap perfectly. Lockheed Martin P-8A Poseidon, the maritime patrol aircraft based on the Boeing 737. Equipped with advanced sensors and weapons, the Poseidon hunts submarines across Australia's vast ocean domain. Northrop Grumman MQ-4C Triton, a high-altitude unmanned surveillance drone. With incredible endurance exceeding 24 hours, Triton provides persistent maritime reconnaissance. It's the tireless eyes over Australia's waters. Boeing is-64E Apache Guardian, the legendary attack helicopter. Armed with Hellfire missiles and a 30mm chain gun, the Apache provides devastating close air support. Lockheed Martin F-35A Lightning II, the fifth-generation stealth multi-role fighter. With radar-evading stealth, advanced sensors fusing information from multiple sources, and network-centric warfare capabilities, the F-35 ensures Australia remains a top-tier air power for decades to come.